Hey, Cameron here with the C-Butters Tech channel. I've been really excited about the Surface Laptop Studio 2. It's a great device in a lot of ways, but there are reasons why this cannot be the Surface gaming laptop we all wanted it to be. It certainly has enough specs to be that, but there's three main issues that I have with it that make it not quite able to be the great gaming laptop on top of the productivity laptop. And namely, those things are three: the screen and the lack of a Mux switch or NVIDIA Optimus, and the way that it handles some of its power management. So the first thing I want to talk about is the screen, because in a lot of ways this screen is great. It's brighter than before. The colors are more accurate than before. It has HDR modes that allow it to go, like I say, brighter than before. And it looks really good. In fact, there's very little light bleed. The blacks are very black. I have no issues with the color representation on this notebook at all. However, the response time, gray to gray, black to white, it's awful. It frankly is awful, and there's a lot of ghosting and smearing in games that are very hard to overlook. If this was 2018, I probably wouldn't even notice or mention it, but having been spoiled by some of Asus's ROG laptops over the last little bit, OLED screens that are on the market now, they look great in terms of response time, and the Surface Laptop Studio 2 is a muddy mess if you are playing fast-paced games, and that may not affect you if you're going to be using an external display. But I do want to at least warn those who are looking into this device that you will most likely not be happy with the gaming performance of the display. Even if you're getting good frame rates, the display itself is not great. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. Let's take a look. Okay, so what I'm going to do is do a blind test for you. And one is the Surface Laptop Studio, and the other is a gaming notebook with an OLED screen. And I want you to take a look and tell me if you can tell which is which.
You're good. You're good. You're good. And stop.
So I'm going to give you the answer to that in a second, and we'll look at it closer. But let's look at some of the metrics on the screen response time. Okay, so right here we're looking at the response time black to white, and this is Laptop Studio 1. So I'm just providing Laptop Studio 1 figures, and I want to shout out Notebook Check as the source for this, because they do great work on their stats there. But black to white is 24 milliseconds, and gray to gray 58.4 milliseconds. Now this wasn't great. It wasn't horrible though either. Now let's look at the Laptop Studio 2. You can see we now have a 34.3 millisecond black to white time and a gray to gray response time of 77.6 milliseconds. That is, if you look between the two, from 24 and 58 to 34 and 77. This is not a good thing. And even if you compare it to something like the Surface Pro 9, the Surface Pro 9 actually has really good response times. I mean, it's way better, 19.4 and 13 gray to gray. So really good response times on the Surface Pro 9, but for some reason the brand new Surface device, Surface Laptop Studio 2, has these horrible not refresh rates, but response times. And it's to the point, it's like the 120 hertz doesn't even really matter when your response times are this poor. And if you want to know what that means, like take our 34.3 millisecond black to white. If you convert that to frames per second, that's about 30 frames a second. The 120 hertz is not doing us any favors when the response time is that poor. And what do you think? So what about that 77.6 millisecond response time gray to gray? Well, to get a 77 millisecond, you have to, that's 13 frames a second. 13. So yeah, while this display may be good in color accuracy and for certain things, gaming is not one of them. And let me show you some additional views of that. I used a slow motion camera in order to kind of visually represent it. With the Surface Laptop Studio on the left and the ZenBook Pro 14 OLED on the right, you can see, especially if you look at the game character's hands, you can see the motion resolution, how poor that is, how it's kind of blending in. You don't get a clear image when things are moving fast. And especially, I mean, the background in this shot is not moving very fast, but the things that are moving fast, like the hands and the legs, you can see how blurry they get with any motion. Where on the right, you're seeing, you know, almost a static image every single time, even though this is playing back, you know, roughly, I mean, it's probably going close to 100 frames a second on both of these. But yeah, look at the gloves especially. It's not great on the Laptop Studio 2. Let's look at it in real time one more time. I bet you can guess which is which.
You're good. You're good. You're good. And stop.
Okay, let's look at one more clip. Again, we have the Surface Laptop Studio 2 on the left and the ZenBook Pro OLED on the right, which has a really fast response time. Look at the blurriness of the trees and the bushes on the Surface Laptop Studio versus the clarity on the right. There's a little bit of flicker going on with the OLED screen. It's just matching the timing of the motion camera. That's not visible with your naked eye. But what we're really looking at, I mean, look at the bush right there, the grass, even the road itself. You really can't make out much of the texture on the Surface Laptop Studio. It's just muddy and blurry. Look at that tree, that bush especially. It's very apparent when you see that happening. When things are moving fast, it's not good. Look at the car. The car details are become very smeared as we're coming around this bend. And there's a clear difference in what you can see in that grass on the OLED side versus the Surface Laptop Studio panel side. So anyways, I hope this makes what I'm talking about clear. So this is bad news. This is a game changer for me personally in the fact that I don't think I can cope with using that display for my everything device. You know, that's the appeal of the Laptop Studio 2 for me, is that it can game. I can do creative stuff on it. I can do all sorts of things, but that level of performance on the screen it's just not there for me. And, you know, I don't want to dissuade anyone who's going to maybe use an external monitor for gaming, or if they don't game at all, they don't care. They're just like, no, I want a versatile laptop that's powerful. Yeah, sure. Surface Laptop Studio 2 fits the bill. But if you're someone who was like, yeah, this is going to let me game, but also do all my schoolwork and do all my creative work, you're not going to be super happy with that gaming portion. And I don't think I'm being hyperbolic about this. I mean, if you look at these response times, Notebook Check has been providing these on like almost every device, from, you know, low end budget tablets that are $70 to high end devices like the Laptop Studio 2. And this is literally, the gray to gray response time is the worst they've ever tested. And maybe not the worst, but 99% of all devices are better than this 3K plus machine. And that's just, for me, for gaming, that's not acceptable. And I hate that is the case. The Laptop Studio itself was not great, and I knew that, but I could handle it. You know, it was good enough that it wasn't that big a deal. The ghosting wasn't that obvious, but it's really bad. It's really bad on the Laptop Studio 2, and you know, if that your use case is relying on that screen for motion resolution, it does not have it. And I hate to be the bearer of that bad news, but that is the way it is. And I want everyone to be informed as they make their purchasing decisions. So anyways, I don't know if you're going to be happy about this, but I'm not happy about this. But I gotta call it like I see it on this one, guys. So thanks for watching. If you appreciate this information, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.